What a great call you made joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics today, because we have a football mind extraordinaire. Offensive coordinator Brian Callahan visits us in our studios here, provided by First Star Logistics, which are outstanding, better than we could ever hope. Brian Callahan was outstanding. He was better than we could ever hope as well. He talked about the victory against the Seattle Seahawks. He talked about what they're doing in terms of self-scouting, things they need to improve on. He talked about his little time he's going to spend down in Florida during the bye week recharging batteries. He talked about the San Francisco 49ers, both defensively and offensively from his perspective. So there's a lot of meat on the bone in this particular episode of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. Just like there's a lot of meat on the bone for the Cincinnati Bengals football team after the bye with 11 games to go. They have not come close to playing a complete football game yet. Offense, defense, special teams, all performing at a high level on the same page. Not even close yet. When it happens, look out. You made an incredibly good decision to join us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics today, because our special guest is very special. Not only a very special coach, a very special human being, and that is offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, who does a phenomenal job for the Cincinnati Bengals. And Coach, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to be here. It's always good to jump on the show in the trenches there, Lap.
So, but talk about in the trenches. How has the offensive line performed for you at this point in the season?
I've been happy with how they performed. You know, I think we've done a pretty good job in protection. We've had some tough blitz looks where we might have given up a sack or two on some third downs, but at the end of the day, I think those guys have really done a nice job making sure the pocket's clean, and we've done a good job in the run game. I think we got a lot of meat left on that bone in the run game as well. We can get more out of it, I think, as we move down to the second part of the season after the bye. But I've been really happy with what they've done. They're smart and tough and dependable, and they've done a really nice job, that entire group. And I think it's probably fair to recognize that Jonah, after switching sides, has really put together a nice season so far. That's been really good to see. And then obviously the addition of Orlando has really helped stabilize that left side of the offensive line. So certainly always room for improvement, but so far through 6 games, been really pretty pleased with how those guys have played.
So let's talk about the last victory against the Seattle Seahawks. That's a pretty good defensive football team. They're active up front, a lot of movement by the defensive line in the front seven, and they're pretty solid on the back end. But you go first 2 possessions, you go down the field twice and put the ball in the end zone. What ended up being the story of the game was 2 for 2 in the red zone, touchdowns for Cincinnati, 1 for 5 in the red zone for Seattle, and they kicked a field goal. So, I mean, 14-10, it was a 4-point win. 14-10 in the red zone was the difference in the football game.
Yeah, and it usually always is. If you go down to if you have trips in the red zone and you come away with 3 points, your simple math would say you're losing 4 there. So the more you can execute in the red zone and score touchdowns and not kick field goals, it's always going to increase your chances to win. And I think you saw obviously in the game that a 2 for 2, even though we were only down there twice, but to go 2 for 2 early and put 14 points on the board, and you match that up with their 1 for 5, and I think you're going to see that you're going to win the game most of the time when you have those types of red zone disparity between 2 teams. And we executed great down there. They obviously had their issues, but that was the difference in the game. Really, is that we had 2 chances to score and we scored on both of them.
After those 2 touchdown drives, it's a little bit of a struggle offensively. Was it lack of execution on the offense's end? Was it more they increased their level of execution defensively? Did they add any wrinkles? Did they just tighten things up in terms of coverage? What do you think the big difference was?
I don't want to be dismissive of Seattle's defense. They did a good job. They played well in the second half. But I do think a lot of our issues were of our own doing. Just not as sharp as we were in the first half. Too many things that went a little bit sideways. on some third downs. We missed a couple throws that we don't normally miss. And then all of a sudden you look up and we've only got 3 points in the second half. And then that was because we got a plus territory turnover. So, a lot of things to improve on, really. I was happy with the early part of the game. I was not happy with the later part of the game. And I think that all our guys saw all the things that we can do better in that spot. And, don't let those things happen again. But I think we can play way better, way better than we did in the second half of that game.
I think that's the thing overall with respect to this football team. Has not played its best football all three phases in the same game: offense, defense, special teams. There have been moments where any and all three phases have excelled, but not together. In man, there's so much meat in the bone, as you say, left in that regard. That when that starts to happen, when at least two of the three units are on the same page and playing at a high level, this team's going to be like, whoa! It's going to be fun to watch this happen. And I guess with the 11 games left after the bye, I think it is going to happen.
I do too. I've got a ton of confidence in our group, and we got a lot of guys that have done it before. That's the difference. We're not looking for something that we haven't seen before. This is a group of guys that have played really good football at a really high level against really good teams, and so that part of it to me helps the feeling of we'll pull out of this. We'll find the right mix of things to put our guys in great position to go play well, and because we've seen it before, those guys have done it before, and it's not like we're looking for something we've never seen before to reach a level we've never really reached before. We've reached it, and our guys have played at a really high level, and I think we'll get back to that. I'm certain of it, and I have a ton of confidence that we'll be ready to roll in these last 11 games and make a great push.
I think it was a couple of years ago when the team made it to the Super Bowl. During the bye week, Frank decided, you know what, I was inside-outside zones, not really working with this group. I'm going to go gap. I'm going to pin and pull. I'm going to run counter. He changed the running game.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of thing on the table? Or that was pretty drastic during the bye week as you're self-scouting. Is anything and everything on the table, or how do you approach that during that self-evaluation during that bye?
I think you take every bit of it with a grain of salt, and that grain of salt is that Joe was not very healthy. Even if you just call it the first 4 games, so it was a difficult challenge.
Yep.
To work around that, and he's gotten better and better. And I don't think you have to throw anything out. I don't think we have to scrap a bunch of things. I think there's a lot of stuff that we've done that's been positive. We just need more of it. We need more positive stuff. But I don't think there's some massive overhaul in our run game coming. I think we've run the ball okay. I think we can get more out of it, but I think we've run it okay. I think schematically we've done a good job with that stuff. And but there's always room for some wrinkles and some tweaks, of course, and that's what we do during the bye week. But I feel good about it. Now we'll always take a very hard critical look at everything we've done and find out where we can be better. Is something not working as well as maybe we thought it would work? Is there some things that we haven't done a lot of that might help us more? And so we go down all those roads and make sure we do our due diligence. And if we find some things that fit, we'll add them and tweak them and do them. And then there's also the other part is that you want to keep getting better at what you are good at. I think that goes a long way too. So I don't see any massive overhaul of schematics. I just see finding the ways to keep putting guys in good positions so we can go ultimately score more points, which we've not come anywhere close to scoring enough so far this year. So I think that part is going to be point of emphasis. We've got to find ways to score more than 16 points a game.
Like you mentioned, the obvious scenario, Joe having some physical limitations because of that calf for the first 4 weeks, first month of the season. And I mean, I feel badly for Joe. Joe worked his tail off. He came to camp. He looked unbelievable. And the first 2 days of practice, I'm like, dude, this guy is going to rip it up this year. And then the football gods say, not so fast. And it put all the work you guys did and the new things you were going to unveil and different wrinkles and all that sort of thing, all of that gets put on hold because your quarterback is limited from a mobility standpoint. You have to can't do this, can't do that. We were hoping to do this, hoping to do that. But now is it like almost like a second opportunity during the bye week to say, "Ooh, our quarterback's getting back. Maybe we can reintroduce some of the things we were going to work on and real hard in training camp and get going in the early stages of the season." It's almost like you had the mini season and you still end up 3-3, and now you're still in position to make a run with some of the stuff you had hoped you could do earlier.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of our team at this point is we fight and scratch and claw for every possible inch we can take, and our guys play incredibly hard. They do a great job with the physicality of the football game. So to get to where we are at 3-3 at the bye week it's great because it feels like a bit of a reset. I mean, we're even, and we have 11 games in front of us to make a run to try to get to, one, win our division, and two, get in the playoffs. Everything's out in front, and so there should be a ton of confidence in our group that we're able to get that done. And it does feel good to just be where we are now after dealing with all the things we've dealt with over the early part of the season, and hopefully come out of a lot of it and play really well down the stretch.
You said during the course of when Joe couldn't be as mobile, you're like, boy, every time I watch a game, I see NFL quarterbacks, and they're all running. I could see them all moving around. You take it for granted until your guy can't. I understand exactly what you were feeling there, because I kind of felt the same mentality. But you look at it, third down issues potentially, red zone issues potentially, with a quarterback that is stationary, those magnify. I mean, in this league, you do third down is a lot of extension creation. Red zone success is a lot of extension creation, isn't it?
Well, you've seen the last 2 weeks. I mean, our touchdowns in the red zone have all come on some version. 3 of them have come on playing off schedule. I mean, he's throwing the ball with over 3 seconds after the ball's been snapped, and that's how you win in the red zone. Sometimes you need that. The coverage is tight. Everything happens fast. There's not a lot of field to defend. You can be really aggressive, and the ones that win are the ones that can create. And that Joe's as good as anybody doing that when it's time to do it. Now, he threw a great on-time ball to TB for a touchdown. That was, if you can toggle between those two things of being great on time and throwing with anticipation versus knowing when you have to hold the ball and extend it, then chances are you're going to be pretty good in the red zone. And I think he's been really pretty fantastic over the last 2 weeks down there, and that's a large reason why we've won, the last 2 games.
Sure. I mean, you look at it, Jamar is tied for the league lead with 50 catches in 6 games and 7th in yards. And he had that game, 15 catches, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns, just unbelievable. And the guy's as good as there is. There's no doubt about that. But then you've had other guys that have stepped up. I mean, T gets nicked up with the rib. Trenton Irwin, a career best 8 catches for 60 yards. Yosivas gets his first touchdown reception. Tyler Boyd's Tyler Boyd. You have players that understand their role, and when their role needs to expand, they understand what they have to do to expand that role as well, don't they?
That's an important part of an NFL season is you rely on your depth at a lot of positions over the course of 17 games, and those guys have to be ready to play. And to their credit, whenever they've been asked to step up and do something, they've stepped up and made plays, and that's great. That's what you build a roster for. That's why you have the players you have waiting in the wings for their opportunities. And so it's good to see. It's good to see when guys make the most of opportunities, and we're going to continue to need guys to step up. I mean, even Cody Ford goes in there for a whole almost quarter and a half in the Seattle game, and that part was good to see. I mean, we're going to need all the guys here probably at some point to play in some way, shape, or form, and it's always good to see guys step up and make plays when their number's called.
Yeah, and Tanner Hudson's another one at the tight end position. When Irv Smith, Jr. had his issues with the hamstring, I believe.
Yep.
He gave you some good snaps, didn't he? Good routes and catch the football.
Yeah, and he did that all preseason. Did it all training camp. So we had a lot of confidence that he was the type of player that we want on our practice squad. And if we had a moment where we needed him, we felt great about his ability to come fill in for whatever role was needed in the tight end room if somebody got dinged up. So it's great to have him. It's great to have Andre. We haven't got to see much of Charlie because he returned a punt for a touchdown, and then he had to go on the shelf for a few weeks. But
right.
A lot of confidence in him too. So we're going to need to see more from all of our young players. I mean, I'd like to see Chase Brown get some opportunities and make some more of it. I'd like to see Travion Williams do some more. Chris Evans. I think those guys have all earned the right to try to help our offense. And I think as we go down the season, those guys will all get chances to continue to show their value too.
So I get fans, after every game banging about, oh, the tight end. The Bengals, their tight end position. I mean, they're not getting anything out of the tight end position. Give me your assessment. I mean, I'll always give them my response. I'd like to hear your response about what you feel about the tight ends and how they're used and how they're contributing.
I think we've had plenty of things that have been for Irv as the primary. For example, one of the play actions we had this past week, he would have probably scored a 50-yard touchdown, and maybe you don't hear the same complaints after one of those. So, but we had some pressure, and we got blitzed, and we gave up a little bit of pressure, and so Joe threw the ball to Jamar and on a check down, but Irv was coming open, and it would have been a big explosive play, and that's really what he's missed this year. He missed that early play down the sideline where he didn't quite get his foot in,
right?
And he just hasn't, and then he got hurt for 2 games, so. His production is probably not where he expects it to be, nor where we expect it to be. But there also hasn't been a ton of opportunity, and so, I think that comes. I think you have to be patient sometimes. He's still only been here for an off season and 6 games, so hopefully that continues to grow for him. But we need more production from the tight end position at the end of the day too. The chances those guys get to catch the ball, they got to do something with it, and we got to find ways to get them the ball underneath as well when the time comes. And we've hit a couple of seam throws and all that, but I think it's a fair assessment that probably haven't gotten everything that we needed to get from that position. And the other side of it is there probably hasn't been as many opportunities for them to get the ball that there's been in previous years. So it's a combination of both things, but both things have to improve for us to balance our offense out a little bit.
And with the bye week and the extra time, Irv Smith Jr. just working his way back into form. It's almost like, a mini training camp as such for him, or getting ready for the stretch run of the season. I would not be surprised if he steps up big in some games for you, Coach. I mean, I think he can run routes. He catches the football well. I think he's going to make some plays.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm confident in our whole group to do that, and it's going to be big for Irv to make the plays when they come to him.
Yep.
And we're not gonna panic about it. We're not gonna lose our minds, and we'll just keep trying to find ways to get him the ball.
So let's talk about the calf. Joe, the last couple of weeks has played at a very, very good level. There's no question about that. Second half of the Seattle game, obviously, I know he probably feels like I can perform much better than that unfolded. But in the first 2 drives, he was slicing and dicing, man. He was slicing them up. And he's never said, I'm 100%, and I can understand why. It's because he's not. He's not going to say he is. But he's getting closer and closer. And every day that even when he's practicing, he's healing, if he doesn't have any kind of a setback. So with the bye week and everything, do you feel pretty confident that Joe is going to be as close to 100% as he's going to be for the season, for the stretch?
I mean, it's hard for me to say. I'm hopeful that that's the case. It sure feels like he's progressed every week that's gone by, and 1 week of rest plus another week of practice probably puts us in a pretty good spot, I would imagine.
Yep.
But it's, I think those things can be tricky, but he's made it through a couple of games now, and he's run and moved, and he looks as close to normal as he's looked in a while. So that's super positive to see. And again, there's no, calves are a mystery to me now. I don't know. I know a lot more about him, and then I really don't know anything about him at this point, because it's all up to how he feels in the moment and how he's felt moving around. And so far, everything would say that we're headed in the right direction.
When you're in a game and your defense is performing in the red zone like Lou Anarumo's defense performed, I know you're busy. You're trying to think of the next series, what are the best plays? How do I put together complementary plays to get us going offensively? But you can't help it. Like, wow, geez, look. What's it like when they're playing at that level and during the course of the football game for the coaches on the other side of the ball?
It just gives you a lot of confidence that we got a chance to win the game.
Yep.
And when we're not playing good enough, you feel a little bit more, because I could feel it during the game. If we keep putting them in these spots that they got to climb out of for us, and it's not a great feeling on our side to know that we keep doing that to them. But what an incredible effort for them to just go answer every time that they needed to. And would have liked to ice the game and not give them that last drive down there to go put our defense back out there. But God, it was an impressive effort to see them step up and give everything they had left to go stop them one more time in the red zone. And they do a great job. They're a pain in the ass to play against in training camp in the red zone. And it sure seems like they're a pain in the ass to play against in the red zone if you're another team. So really unbelievable effort by those guys, just pure will and want to close the game out. Awesome. And then obviously schematically with the defensive staff and Lou and those guys, they dialed it up pretty good for them. And it was really, really fun to be a part of, even though I felt really poorly about how we put them in those spots. But boy, did they answer the bell as good as anybody has all year.
Yeah, it was amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a better performance in the red zone defense. So that was extraordinary, no question about it. You don't, like you said, you don't have to go back very far to find a very similar situation. And last year, 4-4 after 8 games, and then boom, go run 8 in a row, and then 2 more in the playoffs. I mean, it can happen, and it just happened last year. And there's a bunch of guys that were part of it. So, I mean, I would think that everybody's like, you know what, we had to fight through a lot of things, but hey, we're all right. We're good. We're hanging in there. And the division obviously is competitive as hell. A 3-3 record is the worst in the division. So, but it's only 1 game out of first place. That's how bunched up everything is. I mean, it's going to be an extraordinary 11-game stretch, isn't it?
That's what you play for, is to have a shot and be in the mix as the season goes along. And we're in it, and we have to play better than we played to continue to win games. That we got some big ones coming up against some really good teams. But I think Zach always says it, and I believe it too, is that a lot of these early adversities serve you well as you get later into the season. There's a lot of experiences you can draw on, and you're able to climb out of some holes. It shows the resiliency of your team and the determination, the collective will of the team to be able to get to where we are now, given the struggles that we've had. And now we got to put it all together and hopefully not have to draw on those things in the same manner, but you just know that our team's got a lot of confidence that whenever we go out there, we got a chance to win the game just because of how hard they play and all the things that they play well together. So that part, we just got to keep rolling and keep improving and be in it at the end of the year.
So the players have been off since Tuesday, but the coaches have been in there doing the self-evaluation and taking a look at the 49ers. So let's talk about maybe 2 or 3 things that you found need the most work when you did the self-evaluation. What is it offensively in your mind that you need to target and focus on improvement?
We need to do a better job on third down. It's really been our Achilles heel early in the year, and that sort of takes care of a lot of other problems. When you're converting third downs, your drives are extended. You get more plays. You can run the ball more. You can play action more. Every series doesn't feel so do or die when you're getting more plays out of the series. So that's a big part, and we've taken a good hard look at that and where we can put guys in better spots to have success and where our issues have been. But I would say that's a big part of a lot of the things is just trying to find a way to convert more third downs at a better rate. I think we can be still better in the run game. I think there's more meat, like I said earlier, more meat on the bone there for us to get more out of it. And then I think we need to find different ways to get more guys involved and not just Jamar at the receiver position. So a lot of things we can do better schematically for sure. But that's what we get a chance to do over the next couple of days. And, it's not like you make sweeping changes in 2 or 3 days time, but you have a much better view of where your struggles are and where you need to be better.
So when you finish up with that today, you guys are in there kind of like a 9 to 5 kind of thing, which is great because the hours coaches work, I just can't believe it during the regular season. I mean, it's limitless, the hours that you guys put in. Everybody's like, oh man, I worked a 70-hour week. I said, yeah, NFL coaches work about 100-hour weeks. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. So now you get a little time.
Yep.
What are you gonna do during the bye week, Coach, to kind of rest and regenerate and rejuvenate yourself?
I'm gonna head down to Florida with my wife for just a couple of days.
Nice.
It's always good to change the routine and change the scenery and take a deep breath and just spend a little bit of quality time there. And then, it won't be very long. It'll be short and sweet, but a necessary breather in getting ready for the next 11 games plus, hopefully here. It's a long run from end of October to hopefully into February. So you need to take a break when you get a chance to take a break and recharge the batteries and get ready to roll, man, because it's not going to stop until the end of the season. So it's comes at a good time for us. I think we need it now, both mentally and physically for our team, and I need it too. So I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. And wives, NFL wives, we've talked about this before. You observed it with your mother, your dad being in the business for so many years, and your wife doing the same thing. Coaches' wives it's amazing. It's amazing what they do and how they do it.
They don't get quite enough credit for or recognition for allowing us to do the job that we do. It's an incredible profession. It's a tough business, but it can't go, and we can't do it the way we do it without the support from them and their ability to make sure everything keeps running while we're working for all these wild hours and make sure the kids are doing good and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. It's they got a lot on their plates, and most of them they're pretty much saints at this point to be able to deal with all that stuff. So they're rock stars, man. Coaches' wives are a different breed.
No doubt, no question. It's a special woman that can fill that role. There's no question. All right, so up after the bye week, it's just the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, I thought this is a juggernaut. I mean, they're second in the league in scoring, first in points allowed, and Cleveland knocks them off. But McCaffrey goes down to injury. Debo with a rib issue, a muscle in the rib area problem. Debo Samuel with a shoulder problem. Trent Williams, who I think is the best offensive lineman in football, has an ankle. They had issues. And that's the National Football League. And hey, Cleveland took advantage and knocked them off. I wish we were the first team to knock them off, but we'll be the second team to knock them, maybe even the third team to knock them off. But they're a good football team. Bottom line, the San Francisco 49ers. I know you've looked at them a little bit in the early stages here. What do you see out of that San Francisco 49er defense, Coach?
I see a lot of good players. I think that's the first part. Their defensive line is it's as good as anybody's in football. They got talent. They play hard. They're well coached. I know their defensive line coach I work with in Detroit, Chris Kasurik, and he's fantastic. And they play like a Chris Kasurik defensive line plays. Their hair's on fire. They play fast. They play physical. Obviously, Hargrave is a force inside. Armstead is as good as an interior player as you can find. Bosa's the highest paid defensive end in football, and Randy Gregory just showed up. He's no slouch. And Cleveland Farrell was a first-round pick. So they're really talented. And I think Fred Warner is probably the best linebacker in football right now. I mean, he's an elite player. Speed, instincts, communication. You can tell that he makes the show run. Obviously, Greenlaw's maybe just as good as him. And so their front seven is what charges their whole team, I think. And they're fantastic. It's as good a group as you're going to find. The safeties have played well for them. I don't want to butcher 29's name. I'm not good at pronouncing, but he flies around. He's got a little bit of reminiscence of some Troy Polamalu in him. He's a fantastic safety, physical, downhill, fast. So we got a work cut out for us. It's as good a defense as we'll face. It's probably in the same vein as Cleveland, and we can see how Cleveland's defense has shaped up this year. They've been fantastic as well. So got to find a way to score some points against a team that plays really good on defense, and then on top of that scores a lot of points on offense. And they're playing fantastic football, and They got up in Cleveland. Obviously, some injuries maybe affected that some, but
Sure.
Cleveland played a really good game. They managed it really well. But don't let that fool you. That's a really, really, really good football team that we're about to play in 2 weeks.
I'm always impressed by Shanahan's running game. I mean, it's very sophisticated. I mean, they have a different attack on the ground, and that's the one thing too. It's like they can control the clock, with that ground game and the weapons they have offensively. So you go into it thinking, geez, we may only get 7 or 8 possessions here. This is not going to be a 12 possession game for us. I mean, you have to approach it that way, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the complementary part of football is you have to know what you're facing on the other side and what it's going to look like, and you got to be prepared for that style of game. And yeah, their run game's fantastic. I think a lot of it is, they got one of the best tight ends in football. They have certainly the most versatile fullback in football with Juszczyk. They can use him a lot of different ways, and they give defenses a lot of problems. And then again, they scheme very well. It's a well coached unit. Kyle's always been on the forefront of particularly the run game and how to use personnel, and they do a fantastic job. And doesn't hurt that the guy that they're handing it to might be the best player in football currently this year. I mean, Christian McCaffrey he's electric. He can do everything. He can run hard between the tackles. He can get outside. He's got speed. He can run routes. He can catch. He's like a receiver out of the backfield. He's like a receiver when he lines up at a receiver. He's about as good a utility player as you're going to find. That can do really a whole lot of things really well. So, yeah, got to work cut out for us, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a challenge that you hope for. You get a chance to measure yourself coming off the bye against maybe the best team in the NFC and see where you're at.
So, I know you played the position of quarterback. You study quarterbacks. Has Brock Purdy's success? I mean, obviously he's in a great situation. All the reasons being what you just described. I mean, how great the personnel is from top to bottom. But he still has to be able to function at a high level as well. Are you at all surprised how Brock Purdy has developed so quickly?
No, not surprised. He was. I think if you just ignore where he was drafted and you just see what he's done as a player in the NFL, he's been fantastic. He plays with. You can tell he's got great toughness. He's got great anticipation. He knows how to play on time and look, he's not a big stature guy, but you watch all the throws he makes. I mean, he makes all the throws. He throws deep to the sidelines. He can throw deep down the middle. He does it all. He's turned out to be the perfect quarterback for that system. And I think he's fantastic. I can't find, there's not one thing I would slight him for. He's got a great cast around him, and he knows how to distribute the ball, and he gets the ball in those guys' hands, and they do a lot of great things with it. But he can make all the throws. He's a really, really good football player. And that's part of the big reason why they've had the success that they've had this year is he's been great for him. And I enjoy watching him. I think he does a really nice job.
Well, I certainly enjoy talking football with you. I could do it all day, every day. There's no question about that, and really do appreciate you,
of course,
carving time to join us in the trenches, sir.
It's always good to be in the trenches, Lap. It's always good to be in the trenches.
Enjoy Florida. Have the best trip you've ever had down there, and
we'll do.
Here's to 11-0 after the bye. Here we go.
Yeah, that's the come out firing, and maybe we'll just start with 1-0. We'll go there first.
Yeah, we'll go 1-0 11 times. I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
We look forward to another year of In the Trenches presented by First Star Logistics, but we wanted to give you some big news. This season, you'll find our interviews and keys to Bengals victory on In the Trenches in the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, along with our growing team of Joe Goodbury's Bengals on the Brain and Malik Wright's State of the Jungle. Also, the great folks at First Star Logistics have big plans this season with special giveaways each week the Bengals play. So be sure to visit both channels and our social media pages to stay updated on all giveaways and the latest news on the Bengals. So be sure to subscribe to the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, as after this season, it'll become the channel that will host all our content. Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realize self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.